We go live there. Welcome everybody to the show. I'm Suzanne Monk. We're about watching Battling Communism. We battle communism all the time here on this show. That's what we do each and every single Tuesday and Thursday, Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Very proud to be part of the TECNTV.com network, the Exceptional Conservative Network. Actually, just a great group of folks over there, great group of people. So I am just trying to pull up here a list. I'm going to see one of my friends has this list. We're going to see who has it. Let's see. I've taken a look at the list of inmates that we have in the DC detention center, and if I can find that, I'd like to read some of these individuals and see if yeah, let's see, let's go over here and we're going to pull that up. Just give me a quick second here. Let's see if this is if I can pull this up just quickly. If not, we'll move on, and I'll prep this for Tuesday. But somewhere I received, and I don't know who might have saved it for me. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. I'm gonna pull up the list as we are able to get that, and I don't know if I put it in my saved. Let's see if I put it in my saved pile. No. Okay. So there's a list available. Welcome everybody to the show. There's a list available now of the inmates. There are several. There are about 45 that are in the DC detention center. There are dozens, hundreds of individuals who have been arrested in general. Many have been released and are awaiting trial, but there are, as I've mentioned, about 40 or 45 that are still in the detention center there here in DC. Many of them for trespassing, relatively minor crimes that certainly, literally, we were talking about this today with my good patriot friend Jen Lowe and Kevin Witt, and they were talking about the Democrats who recently got arrested at the Capitol and concerned, are they arresting people? No. They release those people and then they immediately release them. Unfortunately, that's not the case if you are some of these individuals. So, yes, I believe there are actually two females in the detention center. One of them named Julie Mary, good to see you. Amario, good to see you. Jenna, good to see you. Christina, good to see you all. Denise, Nancy, hello. So, what can we do to continue to help these folks? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about why those folks are still there, and it has everything to do with the psychological warfare that that is being purported upon us on a regular basis here in America right now, due to the leftist agenda of pushing their communist processes, their communist governmental structure, their communist ideology into America as much as possible. And it has to be this sort of, it's never a nice process. So one of the things they, of course, do is intimidate. And that's one of the reasons we have our individuals still here to this day. Brad, good to see you in the detention center, because they want us to be continually afraid. They want us to feel that we can be arrested at any moment. In fact, I was just talking with folks who are hoping, there's a lot of people who would love to do more events and protests and rallies here in the district. We'd love actually to have that. But people are afraid. Why are they afraid? Well, they're afraid because we've got 40 individuals over there from January 6th, an event which is growingly evidenced to be organized and coordinated by the deep state, by the FBI, by Nancy, who certainly knew that the Capitol was not going to be secure that day. She is certainly in charge of the Capitol Police. and in charge of the security of that facility, those grounds. And she made sure that was not secure. We still don't know who planted the pipe bombs, allegedly. We still don't know a lot of things about that day, but we do have individuals who have been there since, some of them since January, some of them since March. It's a significant period of time for charges that, for the most part, in the vast majority of cases, folks are sent home on their own recognizance, given a fine, etc. And all of these cases that you see, these Democrats who got arrested by the Capitol Police, I'd be surprised if they even got a fine. What I'm pretty sure happens is the Capitol Police just take them away in front of the cameras, and then paperwork goes, and then nothing happens. Nothing happens at all. Because it's a show. They're playing a game for you. They're playing a game for you so that you think a certain way, so that you feel a certain way, so that you react a certain way to their pressures. And that is what the game of psychological warfare has been. And one of the ways in which it is particularly difficult for folks to deal with psychological warfare is the ongoing grinding process. We all see this is, I think, one of the biggest tactics they're using right now against all of us. It is the drip, 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 drip of there is no righteousness. There is clearly two standards of law. We clearly don't see the rule of law being applied. We don't see rational, pragmatic things being done. We don't see logic being included. That over and over and over. All right, thanks for letting me know, El Mario. Sherry says, if I were there at the Capitol on the 6th, I wouldn't go back under this administration. Well, and this is the thing. I was talking with folks. You have to understand, if you go on the Capitol grounds, you're subject to Capitol Police issues. If you're on park property, that's a completely different policing force, completely different agency of the government, completely different branch of the government even. If you are in the city streets, you are in the district, that's Metropolitan Police Department. They're actually quite cooperative and been unfortunate victims of the George Floyd riots and the continued leftist agenda, leftist violence that goes on here and went on throughout 2020, 2019, etc. So it's very different. It's important to know and have perspective. That is number one. So I want to clear out, let's finish talking about what psychological warfare it really is. It is a process by which they're going to wear your mind down through any number of things. It can be stuff that's just, it triggers and exhausts you emotionally, just upsets you a lot over and over and over. The idea that if you just keep getting upset, at some point you're just not going to be able to take it anymore and you'll tune out. That's a very common psychological response. Fear. Fear is a common psychological response to psychological warfare. They want to create this ongoing sense of insecurity. Some people respond to that. How's it going, Larry? Beverly, good to see you. With fear. They respond to that with fearful reaction. They do not take bold action. They do not assert their opinions. They stay quiet. They are easy to manipulate if you are afraid. In fact, you can probably gauge what people will do by how afraid you can make them. A lot of people respond to fear in the same way. They overreact. They get off their balance. Some people respond to fear with anger, which also sets you off your balance. So that is certainly another thing they use, fear. They also use a sense of just manipulating comfort and taking away comfort. It is a way that it is very possible to affect the psychological mindset of individuals by giving them a little something and then taking it away. You start to develop this relationship with your oppressors, with your captors, that you'll do whatever they're asking to you because they're going to give you that little bit of comfort, and that comfort becomes so critical. Lori, thank you very, very much. And yes, the DC Patriots do sing the Star Spangled Banner every night at 9 p.m. We should actually start doing that ourselves, sing it with them, let them know. I mean, maybe we'll figure out a way to do that in a way that they can find out and we can support them emotionally. And that's really the key to breaking down a lot of this psychological warfare. They're wearing you down. They're making you feel helpless. They're making you feel afraid. They're blackpilling you. They're making, it's one of the things we have to be very careful as we're looking into conspiracies, as we're looking into rabbit holes, as we're looking into the deep state and all of the things that go along with that. We can get very depressed. We can get blackpilled. We can think there's no hope. That is another form of psychological warfare, to demoralize you so much that you just give up. You just accept that you can't do anything. And that becomes one of the most dangerous things when all of these things combined keep ticking and ticking and ticking and ticking and ticking away. That adds up. When you have the COVID fear, you have the fear of what your future is going to be like, because we don't know the economics. We see inflation going up. We don't see the economy being opened up properly as it needed to be back last year when I started Reopen America. We don't see that kind of focus on getting people back to work. We continue to see the government milking people along. They're pushing this vaccine. We could see the effects. We see the negative effects, but we don't see the society, the news, anybody talking about that. We see them continuing to push this dangerous experimental medication. That starts to, all of these factors. We see the ridiculous prancing around of this fraudulent administration. We see the audit information being mocked on media. We see the media just constantly choosing the wrong thing to talk about and the wrong way. We see even our own sports figures disrespect. You see, it's just inundates you, and you get worn down. We all get worn down. We all get exhausted, because that's what they want. It is psychological warfare. So we're going to talk tonight about these are things that you can specifically do to combat the psychological warfare in your mind personally. And then with that positivity, with that strength, you can help other people combat the psychological warfare. Beating the psychological warfare, y'all, is the key to victory. That's how we're going to survive this, to be fair. Learning how to keep ourselves calm, focused, and on mission in the face of whatever gets thrown at us is going to be the salvation of America. Patriots who don't give up and are not willing to be worn down. So that means we need to be actively preventing ourselves from being worn down. How's it going, Tracy? So, where do we start? Thing number one. You need perspective. Perspective is not just truth. Truth is part of perspective. A lot of folks, what we do is we think that if we just have the real facts, that's going to combat this fake news. That's going to combat all of the psychological warfare that they're putting against us because of the fake news. It does if it gives you perspective. If it doesn't give you any perspective and you're just getting more negative facts, you might actually be adding to your own pressures. You might be actually researching yourself into further and further depression. So it needs to be causing perspective. That means the facts that you are placing in front of you have to give you a sense in some way that everything is not entirely out of control. How's it going, Karen? And that you can take an action, you can have a way of thinking or a way of acting that is productive. That's what brings your brain back to calm and defeats the heightened psychological attack mode that they're trying to put us in, basically constantly every single minute of the day. Perspective comes from a few things, and one of those is truth. But it also comes from looking at the bigger picture. And this is one of the things I think the Patriot movement is so in need up. And it's one of the reasons we talk about these issues on the show all the time. It's one of the reasons I keep coming on the show, even when I want to take a break, to talk about it, because it is super important that we put all of this into the bigger picture. We zoom back. Because look here. You see, there's a lot of problems going on. If you look, oh, wow, there's a lot of problems going on. This is a whole different look. We zoom back, we have a completely different perspective of what's going on in the situation, okay? Zooming back is putting things one in a time perspective. Everyone needs to be looking at the situation, not just what's happened this year, not just what's happened since Trump was elected in 2015. Yeah, it is. I'm going to say this in a second, Mary. But what has been happening your life? And some of you, like Mary, have a little more life than me even to put into perspective. But if you look at how the country has been changing over time, and don't do the nostalgia thing, y'all, that's dangerous. That putting everything in the past in only a positive light will mess this up. So don't do it that way. Don't look back and just remember, oh, the 70s and 80s were so great. Yeah, not so much. They were great things about them. There were great aspects of how our society was operating then. There was also awful things. Divorce was immensely on the rise. Parenting is going out the window. All right. People were starting to lose control. The crazy liberals of the 60s and 70s were getting into colleges and starting the indoctrination process. Those things were also happening while we were teaching our kids solid values, learning to get summer jobs, all of those great things that you also remember as a young person. So when you put the history of our country in perspective, yes, you can see how this communism has been trickling in over time. You can also see the ebb and flow of its influence. You can see the ebb and flow of its influence because as we all watched through the 70s to the 80s, we saw us go from Carter and the corruption of Nixon and all of that into Reagan. And then you saw from Reagan, you have that moment of calm, structured, principled leadership. Boom. Then we move into the Bush family. Now we're back to right-wing progressivism. So that arc, it goes up and down. It goes up and down. We've been in better places, but we've been in worse places. If you take that perspective and take it even past how much you know from your life and take it back into the history books, we're actually in a really good place. No Japanese are being interned in any camps right now. As much as the panicking Pams would like to tell you, there are FEMA camps everywhere waiting for that. That hasn't happened yet. It has happened in the past in this country. So these are the kind of perspectives you should be putting everything in. Everything we're seeing right now can be put into perspective. It helps when you're talking about things like the stolen election, the stolen presidential election, to put even that in perspective, because people say, Suzanne, what's going to happen? I say, we don't know. They say, how do you not know? I say, we are in unprecedented territory. This is something we have not done in the United States yet. We have not proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that a foreign power or a corrupt party stole the election. Nixon was impeached because of just the idea that he was trying to manipulate the election. So this is something we have never really seen before. And so we don't know the answer to that. It's okay to not know. And you see how that perspective, understanding what part of this we know and what part of this we don't know, helps you. So that when people say, hey, he can't be reinstated, you can tell them, you don't know that and I don't know that. Nobody knows that at this point because it is unprecedented. We have yet to see how the United States constitutionally will address an illegal president sitting in the White House. Not sure how that's going to happen. We're going to find out because that's the situation that we are in. Knowing that gives you a sense of what direction we're going. Knowing that understands why the Supreme Court is important, but it also explains why it's important that we continue to fight strongly for these House races, for the Senate races, that we continue to do these audits. As we know, going forward with several of these audits can affect the outcome of Senate and congressional structure. We can have seats flip as those votes get changed to be accurate. And certainly there is the possibility, as Wendy Rogers, state senator in Arizona, has stated many times and has called for many times, of the decertification of the electors. Now, what is that going to do? I don't know. Again, that's the perspective we're trying to talk about. When you put things into that overall perspective, historical perspective, big. That's a big factor. It's why it's so important to understand history. It's why they don't want you to understand history, but it's readily available. There's lots of history to understand. How's it going, Darlene? Perspective in the moment.
You can't say I didn't try.
Thank you. Perspective in the moment, in the times that we're in, not history, but current perspective, and certainly individual perspective. How does this affect you personally? There's a lot of stuff that it's okay to set it down for a minute and say, this isn't really affecting me today. What's happening in Congress isn't really going to affect me today. What's happening in Hollywood isn't really going to affect me today. And for heaven's sakes, y'all, what's happening in some random internet video of some crazy person who is freaking out, some Karen who's screaming, some mask hole who's masking on people. So a lot of this is rioters. So this isn't affecting you. So perspective, understanding if that's even affecting you, that's one of the perspectives. We're going to move into the next thing that is super important to keep your brain calm. Okay. And that is understanding your own emotional state. Okay. Your internal DEFCON situation. Yeah, Laura, we're going to talk about that. She says it affects the world. It does. And that's what we're talking about, DEFCON right now. Internal DEFCON is critical to understanding how much of that stuff you can handle. All right. So we have, when you're at DEFCON 0, you're so relaxed, or 5. I think it goes down. That 1 is the worst one, right? So you're at 5, you're relaxed. Everything's cool. You don't need to worry about anything. Bills are paid. The house is relatively clean. Your to-do list is pretty much caught up on. You're calm. You're relaxed. You might maybe sipping your adult beverage. It's okay. It's okay. You're doing great. 5. Relaxed. We're very rarely at a 5. Maybe in vacation time, we're at a 5. Okay. Life is usually putting us somewhere away from. All right. It's moving us into maybe DEFCON 4, where we're like, all right, I feel like I got everything under control, but I'm still, I still got to juggle. I can't let the ball, I can't lose focus. I can't just nap it out. I can't just, do shots all night and stumble home drunk. I have responsibilities. I got to stay a little focused, but I feel in control. Okay. 4. It's a good place to be. A lot of stuff gets done there, right, Tracy? A lot of stuff gets done at level 4. Level 3, DEFCON 3. Okay. Starting to feel a little overwhelmed. Most people live at DEFCON 3. They live there. We live at this stress of things that haven't been done. We all do it. It's life. There's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff we try to say we need to get done. And we promise ourselves too much. We promise other people too much. This is why we're usually around a middle stress. That's why a lot of people do drink, because then they can turn the stress voice off that's talking. Hey, didn't you have to mow the lawn? You didn't have any clean clothes for work tomorrow. Those bills aren't going to get paid. If you don't, did the check even come in? Is it cleared yet? The internal dialogue, whisper, 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 whisper. Now, Why do I mention the internal dialogue? Such a critical component of the stress. And I didn't mention it until we got all the way down to 3, because for the most part, you don't notice your internal dialogue when it's just doing positive things, because most of us are not training ourselves to say positive things to ourselves. Unfortunately, we're mostly trained to say stressful things, reminders, we're reminding ourselves all the time of the things we have to get done. When you see these communists right now, the pressure they are putting individuals under, all of these other stressors, all of these other factors, they are putting more of that internal dialogue into your head. They are literally trying to plant internal dialogue, worry dialogue into your head. They do it with television commercials. They do it with TV shows. They do it with the constant, agenda. They do it with the media. They do it with your friends being exposed to that media. They do it with social media. Oh, no, Suzanne, those are just my friends telling me stuff. No. Facebook is deciding which of your friends stuff you see. You do know that, right? You're not just seeing all of your friends' stuff in a random order as it was published. Facebook is picking and choosing which of your friends' stuff you are seeing. So they are forming a narrative in your head at all times. That's why it's important to understand your own narrative. That's why it's important to understand which of these voices is your little nagging voice and which of these voices is not your little nagging voice. And the best way to do that is being honest with yourself about these things. Get a list. Don't just keep everything you have to do. Yeah, get your self-talk right. This is entirely true. I'm going to put this up. Don't just keep in mind everything you're going to do, and don't it's not, there's nothing judgmental about making a list. All right, using a piece of paper. I think I have a notepad right here. Yeah, see this. Grab your little notepad, make your little to-do list. You're not old, you're not forgetful. Watch those things, watch those comments that you give yourself. When you say something dumb, go, that's dumb. I'm better than that. It's totally cool. I'm gonna make a list. At some point, engaging those voices, does it sound like you're arguing with yourself in your head? Yeah, you will. It'll feel a little bit like an argument in your head, because you're dealing with your internal voices, your internal dialogue. If you haven't become conscious of those voices, it's gonna be an argument, because there are forces in your own mind that may be trying to undermine you, may be trying to support you. There's all this stuff going on in your head that you are just not aware of if you can't hear it, because it's going on in everyone's head. That's how we process information as human beings. We see other people. We think, how are they reacting to me? Do they think I'm okay? Do I look okay? Are they looking at me funny? All of us do that. Every single human. At some point, you get the perspective to go, you know what? I don't care if they're looking at me, because I don't care if they like this shirt, and I don't care if they think I don't care what they think about me. If they like me, they're gonna like me. And then you don't care anymore. And at some point, you don't even notice them looking at you anymore, because you have perspective. So understanding our own internal dialogue is very important when we are dealing with particularly psychological warfare, because they are trying to create an internal dialogue for you that is not your own. So they are adding to your own already existent self nagging. Yes, Nancy, we judge ourselves the hardest. When they add those fears, many of us are using that to judge ourselves. Oh, am I prepped enough? Am I blank, blank, blank? And so we get stressed out. We feel like we have more to do than we maybe actually do. We're stockpiling food for 3 months on end. Will we need that? I don't know. I'm not certain that's going to be a realistic situation for anybody. Again, perspective. If the whole country doesn't have food for 3 months, I'm not sure holding up in your house with a bunch of canned goods is going to save you unless you live in the middle of nowhere on a compound. Perspective. Perspective. So as you move into, so that's the baseline, number 3. As you move into, now I'm stressed. I am no longer in control. Now we're on DEFCON 2. I'm no longer in control of my thoughts at all. They are just attacking me. And that's where we see people living in a lot of anxiety. They get very fearful. And a lot of us have been kind of functioning between 3 and 2, 3 and 2, 3 and 2 throughout the year, particularly COVID. They really made it hard for folks. There was a lot of economic stress. There was a lot of medical stress. People were worried about their loved ones, and they were worried about this oppression coming down from the government. They were worried about so many things, and they kept dropping these emotion bombs on us. So people would get more worried and less, and more worried and less. And there were points where people were just like, oh, it's all over. We're all going to be communists now, which I don't understand what that means, because I'm clearly still breathing. So we're clearly not yet communist. We're going to talk about that in a second. So that too becomes a very deteriorating state. We rarely get to DEFCON 1, where we are just melted down. Most of us do not throw temper tantrums on the ground like children. Most of us do not melt down into physical violence. We don't scream at random strangers. We're not physically assaulting people, but that's what DEFCON 1 looks like. And we see people getting into that state, particularly people with mental illness. In New York in the last few days, Curtis Sliwa, who is running for mayor there, which I so hope he is able to be elected. I doubt he will be, but I'm strong for him, because he would be literally the best thing New York could possibly do. He's the founder of the Guardian Angels and has been a huge advocate for functional urban living for quite some time. Great guy, great individual. There was a situation out on the street where this mentally ill person started screaming and trying to physically assault people, and Curtis Sliwa got in the way and talked that individual down, basically calmed him down, prevented a potentially dangerous, violent situation. But the guy was just screaming crazy things that didn't even make any sense. You forgot to feed me. Lunacy. He's at DEFCON 1. The stress, the pressures, the anxiety have gotten so far, he is no longer in control of his being, and it usually melts down into tantrum like a child. You see some Karens when they're like, those screaming Karen videos. That woman is at DEFCON 1. So understanding where you're at, okay? Understanding how stressed you are, getting comfortable with, I'm feeling really good right now. I'm really calm. Recognizing when you're feeling a 4, 4.5, 5. Yeah, just absorbing that energy in, because it's going to mitigate and give you some buffer when you're feeling 3, 2.5, 2, a little overwhelmed, as many of us get. We get down and we feel demoralized because they're doing that to us on purpose. Understanding how much of that is you and where your baseline is, it helps. It helps immensely, and your baseline is going to change. For example, throughout the shutdowns, your baseline might have been lower, more stress than everybody, your average. Some people got worried about that. If your baseline gets too low on a regular basis, you're just constantly grinding yourself into the ground, you need to adjust. But we are highly adaptive human beings. I want everyone to say that with me. I am a highly adaptive human being. We are very capable of adapting and changing, and we do that best by perspective. One form of perspective is self-perspective, and that's what we've been talking about for the last few minutes here. Self-perspective, understanding yourself, understanding your internal dialogue. And then now we're going to talk about the next thing, okay? You can combat psychological warfare You can combat psychological warfare. Yeah, Tracy, me too. I lost weight in the lockdowns. Everyone's like, Sam, why'd you lose weight? I'm like, I didn't want to eat. So, yes, it wasn't drying. Just was sad because I couldn't go to my favorite restaurants and everything was shut down. And I just lost my appetite. You see, understanding that about yourself and throughout that recognizing, okay, well, I'm not really hungry right now, but I have to eat. Maintaining yourself, your physical health, we're going to talk about that in a minute, is also very key and important. So we can combat that psychological warfare, that narrative. And that's why I'm going to talk about this now. We can combat that narrative with an alternative narrative. Perspective is one way to create that. Some things you just have a value. You know, some people, they'll write their little motivational things down. They put it up, the little Post-its up. Some folks laugh at that, but it is actually helping your brain. Hello, Nicole. It is actually helping your brain. Just saying a positive thing will affect your hormonal levels, your endorphins, etc. The endorphins that your body produces, which will reduce stress, it will reduce your stress hormones, it will increase your relaxing hormones, just saying positive things. So one of the reasons when you see people, they get really stressed out, they're like, I'm okay. I'm okay. You know, they get hurt. They're like, I'm okay. I'm okay. I got this. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. You're telling yourself that because you're actually creating a biochemical reaction in your body that helps you be okay, that helps you put the fight or flight, the adrenaline hormones down and mitigate them, bringing them into a more controlled state, you know. And as we know, once adrenaline kicks in, there's a time frame, but you can certainly mitigate that with a lot of what your emotions are. Writing your feelings on paper helps. Sometimes you can get too in your feels, so that's okay. It's okay to do that, but it's also okay to not do that. It's okay to go, you know what, I don't feel I can handle sitting here crying at a sad movie right now. So I feel like it's going to make me more sad. What might be better is going and seeing a friend or doing something that I enjoy that is positive, that is encouraging, that is, taking a nature walk, going, get a hotel room for yourself for a night if that's something you like to do that has a hot tub or something. I don't know. Do something special. Do something fun. Do something unique. Do something. Start a book. Do something escapist. Doing that in a controlled way, knowing, hey, I'm going to take an hour. I'm going to pick up my book. I'm going to read for an hour and just lose myself in this story. Come back. You feel better. You are literally, when they're pulling at you, pulling at you with all of the stressors, pulling in the opposite direction reduces your stress. So literally, if your shoulders are doing this, push it, pulling your shoulder, get someone to or lean up against the wall and do a little neck stretch. Do one of these. Oh, do the opposite. This, do this. Do the opposite. If you're angry, separate yourself from what's making you angry for a while. Find something that brings you joy. Find something that brings you calm. The opposite of anger is joy, obviously. If you are tired, rest. Rest. You cannot underestimate, and I know we all are, you cannot underestimate the importance of 8 hours of sleep, 6, 7, 8 hours of continuous sleep. Getting a block of sleep at a extended period of sleep is going to make you feel so much better. So you can help yourself by understanding your internal dialogue, understanding your internal dialogue as you're getting ready to go to sleep, prepping yourself for having a good night's sleep. I'm relaxed. I've done everything I can for today. I've taken all my problems. Some people have something called a worry bowl, right? And you write down your worries on a piece of paper and you fold it up and you put it in the bowl. And that means it's done for the day. It's in the bowl. Nothing, it's safe there. When you get up in the morning, you can pick your worries out of the bowl. But for the night, they're in there. It is also great to make sure that you're getting enough vitamins and minerals. And let's talk about this, because getting enough sleep starts to cross over into the physiology of maintaining positive mental status. There are a lot of vitamins. As look, I think we've looked at this book in the past. I will recommend it again. This is my go-to, Jean Carper's Total Nutrition Guide. This is an older copy that she has current copies. This has every single vitamin and mineral and what you need, how much you need, how much is too much, what kind of foods to eat to get that iron. So important. Did you know that you can get depressed if you're not getting enough iron? Do you know that women of still menstruating age, you're not getting enough iron? I guarantee you. Your body is pumping iron out through your menstrual cycle, and you thus are needing more iron than you're getting. Here, I'll just read some of this. Okay. Iron deficiency affects the brain. Tired, iron, poor blood. What happens if you don't get enough iron? Anemia from lack of iron in the diet is the most common nutritional deficiency disease in the country. Most vulnerable: teenage girls, young women, infants, and elderly men. Low hemoglobin, it causes muscle weakness, fatigue, listlessness, a tendency to tire easily, slow recovery from exertion and exercise. One study of women found that their work performance quadrupled when they put more iron in their diets. Did you know that? If you're getting inadequate iron, you're not going to be producing as much work at your job. Yes, magnesium, it will make you sleep. Exactly. So hold on a second. Another showed more normal heartbeats and quicker recovery from exercise when their anemia was corrected with increased iron. It affects the brain, attention span, lack of intellectual motivation, hyperactivity. You can feel anxious and hyperactive. There are health problems that can be associated, infections, cancers, the immune system can be affected. So all of these things. Magnesium, such an important point Mario brings up. If you're not getting enough magnesium in your diet, your muscles are going to get tight. Magnesium is literally helping to relax the muscles. This calcium makes my muscles do this. Magnesium makes them do this. Calcium, magnesium. Calcium, magnesium. If you are not getting enough magnesium, calcium, magnesium. Calcium, you see how we start to get tighter because we can't get the magnesium. Balance. Get a nutritional guide, do a little research, make sure you're getting enough of specific nutrients, take a multivitamin. If you can't get too into the weeds, it's this vitamin or that vitamin, but do make sure you're getting physically enough nutrients, especially when we are in a situation where emotional eating is going to be a problem for a lot of people. We're not necessarily in the mood to eat healthy. We're not necessarily in the mood to get food into our bellies. So keeping in mind, I haven't eaten anything today. I need to eat something, and I should eat something with some vitamins. And if I haven't eaten the vitamins, I should take a vitamin. It is important. Yes, Nancy, I think you can get a lot of calcium from milk. Can you get adequate calcium from milk? It probably depends on your body size, but you are probably doing very well. Let's just look up calcium here for a minute. Conveniently, this is all alphabetized. So let's see. Iron, sodium, calcium. Here we go. The thing is that there are widespread deficiencies. For the most part, we are not getting a lot of calcium. And it is affecting, that's why we get a lot of joint inflammation. A lot of that is inadequate calcium. Females deficient in calcium intake, age 15 to 18, 87% of the women in the world are not, in America, are not getting enough calcium. 35 to 50, 84%. So the likelihood, are you getting enough calcium? The answer is no. The answer is no. It protects your bones, but it does so many other things. It affects your energy levels, things that can boost absorption of calcium. Did you know lactose, milk sugar, boosts your absorption of calcium? Vitamin C, sunshine, vitamin D is critical to your body's ability to use and process calcium. So critical. So, these are the things. There's all kinds of food sources, all the different cheeses. She breaks it all down. There's certainly good information in a book like this, but good health inside of making sure that you're getting enough balanced vitamins and minerals in your diet, which frankly, I'm just going to recommend if you don't take a multivitamin and you're feeling a little tired, you're feeling a little stressed, you're feeling anything other than perfect, maybe add a multivitamin. See what happens. It really can't hurt you. It could probably help you. So, now I know a lot of people do not necessarily like to take vitamins in an outside form. There's chews, which are a great option. Some people don't like to take pills. Some people like to get all of their nutrients from food. You're just going to have to work at that. That's a lot of effort. A book like this will help because it's going to tell you what kind of components. Look, this whole back of the chart is just different foods. So, like a pork chop loin, lean, of 72 grams, has 166 calories. It always depends on preparation, obviously. 23 grams of protein. Okay. It has two REs of vitamin A. It has 0.3 milligrams of vitamin C. And it breaks it all down. And it's a very useful kind of thing. Yes, and there are different magnesiums as well. Just any magnesium is not the same as every other magnesium. So magnesium citrate is harder for the body to absorb. Magnesium maleate is easier. Do a little research. Vitamins there's a lot of science already out there. You can do a little research. You're going to find some good information. And frankly, any addition of the nutrition in your body is going to help. It's going to help. Take a look at, Nancy, always take a look at, do a little looking around online. There's different sources of products, particularly something like vitamin C. There's a lot of people who make a good vitamin C, and some of them obviously going to be more effective than others. Vitamin C is one of those things that's pretty absorbable in a variety of ways. So, it's not as there are something maybe by D3 a little bit more. You want, maybe some good quality. You're going to need, it's going to be a little hard to get specifically D3. That might be a little different than just general vitamin D, but vitamin C, pretty ubiquitous, a lot of ways to get it. So, and it helps a lot. If you aren't healing, if you have a wound that's just not going away right away, vitamin C, wounds, the ability to heal the body's ability to heal wounds needs vitamin C. Always, always, always useful. And we flush it right out. You can't really take too much vitamin C. So now, in addition to that physical knowledge of nutrition, what Karen is saying, right? She says journaling, Bible study, and walking have become great therapy for me. Knowing your physical body. This is something I'm not as good at because I forget to stretch. I have a pretty limber body as it is, but then it gets stiff, right? And so then I can still touch my toes, but my back hurts. But I can bend, I just am stiff. So physically stretching, physically moving your body, physically getting your heart rate going, warm baths, foot soaks, all of this self-care, physical exercise, stuff. Great. Breathing. Just sitting. Constant breathing. Conscious, not constant. Yeah, please continue constant breathing or you'll die. But conscious breathing, conscious, being aware of your breath. Sometimes I just count. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. And that is one technique I'm going to mention. We talk a lot about using our body. We get people get exercise. Journaling is one way to get your mind in control. But just getting your mind to stop blathering at you, there's a few techniques that I use. Now, yeah, I hope I know it's stretching becomes so important, especially with any physical conditions. It's more important because it really, you can tell how much getting a good stretch helps mitigate and just puts your body in a much better position. And that, the curve of how much worse it can get if you don't do it goes faster when you have other health problems. So, and every little bit, every baby step can help you. Look, if you're super stiff, if you're not somebody who can get a lot of mobility, and you're not somebody, say your arms, you can't get your arm up over your shoulder. Okay, we'll do this for a few times. Do it as far as you can, because you're now putting blood and circulation in there. You're getting fluids moving around. You're creating movement. Push yourself a little bit. Okay. Then, it's okay to take it easy on yourself, but keep activating yourself. Because at some point, you will be able to do the thing that you think you can't do, little bit by little, baby step by baby step. No matter what the doctors tell you, the world is full of stories of doctors telling you one thing was going to happen and that not being the case at all. So don't necessarily listen to them. Listen to your own body. Listen to yourself. Listening to your mind. So I'm going to teach you a few techniques. Counting. Counting is a great way to distract yourself. I do it this way. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. You think that's easy? You think counting is easy. It is. Count 5 minutes worth of 60 seconds. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, all the way to 60 seconds. Start again. Do that 5 times without interrupting yourself with a thought. But you're going to find out. Here's what I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to be counting. You're going to be, okay, I'm doing it. And then some other thought will come in. And you'll start to that thought will somehow, boom, hijack. And you'll realize at some point, crap, I stopped counting. Okay. Get back in. Don't beat yourself up if you stop counting. But recognize that's your brain with all of those pressures, with all of those anxieties, with all of that narrative going on. That's the narrative. That's why I love counting as a method to quiet the narrative machine. 1, 1,000. Because you can return to it again and again when you recognize, oh, crap, I'm not counting. All right, let's start over. 1, 1,000. 2, we all know how to count. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. By creating a focus in the front of your mind, you get the narrative, which is the subconscious, to be a little quieter. Singing, another great way to calm this narrative down here, because you can't really be listening to yourself, talking to yourself while you're singing. Sing a song, make it simple to last the whole night long. Sing the whole song. Look up the words on your phone. Learn your favorite songs. Just sing them to yourself, because you're going to use that as a technique. As you are stressed, as you are feeling anxious, you can sing yourself calm. That'll take you from your 2 back to your 3. Okay? It can even take you from your 3 back into 4. Well, then now, before you know it, you're whistling, I'm whistle while I work. Da, 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 da. But you know, you're Snow White. Now you're at level 5. You're going to level 6. You're magically dancing around, having elves and birds do your laundry. It's fantastic because you are engaging the process. Music, listening to music, another great way. Listening to music, singing, doing something active. If you want to get your mind to stop blah, 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 active. Some active activity is going to be one of the best ways to do that. We're going to let the folks over at TECN TV go because the next host is coming on in just a few minutes. I want to thank you guys for tuning in at TECNTV.com. We appreciate all of those folks over there for continuing to provide a platform for this show and other great conservative individuals and thinkers. So we're going to let that stream go. We're going to finish up here with Facebook, y'all. Make sure you are treating yourself good. Make sure you are emotionally calm to yourself. And if you can't, shut up your dialogue for a minute. If it's getting Alvaro, if it's getting too much, if it's getting to where you're stressed, if you just don't feel like you have control, stop. Count. Literally. Count to 100. Try it. The next time you're super anxious, you're super stressed out, you don't know what to do, go find yourself a quiet space. 1, 2, 3, 4, get to 100. You will find at the end of it, you are calmer. These kind of techniques, this kind of self-control, this is what's going to help us battle that psychological warfare that we see coming down the pipe at every moment. And it is so critical. So right now, I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to go battle my psychological warfare with a delicious meal, with some company and some delicious food and relaxation. And I'm going to enjoy the rest of the weekend. I hope you do the same. Try to bring your DEF CON down a level this weekend. Do something that you feel the relaxing. You feel more relaxed. Give yourself that. It's okay to give yourself that. In fact, it is vital. That is how you fight communism. And that is our show for tonight, folks. Love you guys. We will be back on Tuesday, Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. right here, assuming the world does not come to an end by then. Probably won't. So I will see you back then. Until then, this is your girl, as always, Suzanne Monk, trumping out.